So today I wanted to talk about the attaching of the cuff. So you make a tube, and you can see I've sewn it there. And what happens is it has to be stretched over the edge of the fabric. So when you sew it, it has to be stretched. So I've just pinned it in place so I can sew it, and I'll sew it now, and then I'll show you how to join it to the lining, which is a little bit of an odd one, so I'll just sit down and be right back. So here we are to sew it. Fairly straightforward. Fit it under, press your foot. Let's see. Okay. And off we go. Pulling it out to stretch it, which is where the walking foot comes in because it holds it securely while you're sewing. Stabbed myself. Perfect. Okay, so that's part one. Now I have joined this cuff already. So this is where it gets, I'm going to zoom back out. Okay, so this is where joining the cuff becomes weird. So there's the outside, and what you need to do is pull the sleeve to the inside with this bit. You see the cuff is attached. And then you need to take the lining and pull it again inside, like that, so you've got both wrong sides outside and both right sides inside. And then what you have to do is bend the cuff around like this to sew it. And then when you feed it back through, you just literally put the sleeve in the right way and put the two into each other. So it's not bad, but this part took me a while to figure out. Pull each sleeve inside so the right sides are together in the middle. And there's the lining. So it's so you're making sort of an elephant trunk. And then you sew. So off we go. It's a bit awkward because you have to sort of get in here, but once you're in there, it's not too bad. So reverse. Take a stiletto for this. just because you're coming up over a big hump, and that tends to cause a bit of a problem trying to feed it. Now it's a matter of, again, stretch it out, and so. So I've got the stitch length set to 2.5 millimeters. This is probably a better angle. Ow. Ow. And we're almost the whole way around. Perfect. Okay. So now we have the tubes joined together. Zoom back up. Okay, now we have the tubes joined together. So to actually finish it, you pull the sleeve inside like this. And what you're seeing is that's coming with it, which is what you want. And there's the cuff. So, and you can see the right side is correctly there. So the final bit that needs to be done is, and you can still reach in at this point to push the seam allowances the right way, but ultimately you have to stitch these two bits together, just stitch in the ditch, so that the cuff will stay at the right height rather than rolling around, because they're not attached to each other. So I shall do the next one. That involves pulling this through here. So now I've got the wrong side again. And we need to turn this one side out. And of course, you need to line up the seams. So the best way is to just pin that temporarily, and then you sort of go around, put your half marks in. That makes it a lot easier as well. I forgot to do that last time as well. So fold it flat so you can tell where halfway is, and then do the same on the lining. And then that tells you where these parts need to line up. And you just pull out a pin and shove it back in. And now it gets rather easy to just stretch it out to mark the halfway point between those two. And then on this side, it's the same kind of oddity. Have to, oops. Now isn't that dumb? I've done it the wrong way around. Try it again. So that's still the halfway mark, but I pulled out this one. This I found to be rather fiddly just because it's all inside out and upside down compared to normal. So what I did is I put the wrong side on. So because it's got to go in kind of that way, it's easier if you turn it like a cuff downwards, like that. So once it's secured in place, you can do that. So I have to admit, in my videos, and a few other people have had the confidence to show you warts and all when you get things wrong, because you don't always get things perfectly. So sometimes it's wonderful to show a perfect video with any problems edited out, but in this case I don't mind showing, oops, I did that the wrong way, because it happens. And then on this side you can see like that. And now it's stitchable. So it's just a matter of going here and get that out of the way. Bit of a reverse stitch to start. Oops. Didn't pull the thread tail long enough. See, warts and all. This is where I have the biggest challenge. Sorry, I've got to blow up the image. Now, with this walking foot, what you'll notice is it's quite difficult for me to get my fingers in there, so I always have to use tweezers or something. So there's just not a lot of room. Okay, so let's secure this, reverse stitch, and forward we go. Okay, let's pull up the pin. So, got to make sure when we get to that seam we're lying flat. Stretch this out. Ooh. Okay. Yep. Both seams are lying flat, which is good technique. Oops, got a bit of an issue with this bunching up here. Hold that secure with the needle. Oops. Now, You see there's not a wild amount of room to do this in. Okay. Now, this definitely worked better before, so I think I'm going to have to sew on the other side to get it to lay flat. It's not behaving itself. So I'm going to stop there. Oops, I dropped my snips on the floor. There they are. Okay. So what's happened is, because I've sewn this time on the lining, it's not stretched out properly, so there's kind of an excess of the green. So I just need to go back a bit and just even this out again. But it'd be better to sew on this side. So what I'll do is I'll just pin this, tear this back a bit, and then do this back here as well. So sometimes things go perfectly smoothly and then you change an approach or whatever, and all of a sudden it's not going as smoothly as you would have liked. So let's try again. It doesn't take long to stitch, so I'll just unstitch this and go back and center it up again, and this time sew on. So that's held in place there. So what I need is middle again, just to figure out why it didn't work. So there's the center. Okay. And there's that one. I could use a blue marker, I suppose. That would work. There's middle. Okay, because I want to sew on the ribbing side this time, I want to put my pins on the inside here, like that. And then on this side, hopefully I didn't just catch that with the pin. Nope. Then here on this side, oops, falling off. We've got still too much on that from my point of view. Yes, that's fitting a bit better now. Ah, I see what went wrong. Okay. I gibbled up the lining. That's why it's not lining up so well. Perfect. So we'll restitch that. That won't be a problem at all. So your seam ripper is one of your best friends for sure. You get perfect results in spite of the evil things that sometimes happen. Okay, so that's lining up a little better. So I need, yeah. So in this case, right, we're sewing on the green, which will allow the feed dogs to do the work, and we will try again. Remember to hold my thread tails this time. stretchy time. Pretty good and stretched. Almost done, and this time it is lining up, which is good. Okay, now we have those two joined together. And of course, we go to the right side and we pull this in. And if all goes well, what we should see in there is the red lining, which we do, so we know we've got orange. And then it just needs to be evened up, and using a stretch stitch, really, or stretching, secured in place. So you can see the seams line up, which is good. The seams line up there. And it's starting to look like a jacket. So we now need to ensure that the cuff doesn't shift, because the lining and the outside of the jacket are only connected by that sleeve end. So this seam here needs to be stitched together. So in order to do that, when you're sewing your sleeves together in this tube, what's really important is that the last step you do is to shove this inside like that. So you wedge the seams together. Make sure it's good and clear. You can actually, if you need, stick your hand through here to make sure that nothing is in the way. It's not a problem. So you can actually get in there and then push at the cuff bit and pull it. But what I'm going to do is sew on, this will be the feed dogs and that'll be on top. So I'll just put a pin in place to make sure it's held, because that's a lot of layers to go through. And I'll just put the odd pin. so that it makes it easier to sew the full circle. Yeah, there. Perfect. So now it's a matter of actually doing the sewing. Off we go. Reverse stitch just to secure it, and off we go. Perfect. So now, what we have to do is just pull this sleeve through, and it's perfect. Absolutely perfect cuff.